Hey guys, this is Verneer for CardRunners.com, bringing you another episode of Crushing the Micros, updated for 2013, Part 6. So in this part, we're going to continue talking about facing 3-bets from early position. And in the last video, I talked about playing aces, kings, and pocket pairs 2 through 9s. And in today's video, I would like to focus on queens, ace, king, jacks, and 10s. Although we might only have time for queens and ace king. We might do jacks and 10s in the next video. So a few key considerations when facing a 3-bet, a review from last time: stack sizes, size of 3-bet, stats and reads, villains, position, blockers, and other players. So when we have queens and ace king, we're going to be much more willing to stack off against small stack sizes. In fact, that's pretty good rule of thumb in general. Size of the 3-bet, we'll talk about that as it comes up. Stats and read. Against loose players, we're going to play wider ranges pre-flop, and against tight players, we're going to play tighter ranges. Villain's position, we are much more willing to continue when we are going to be in position, and less willing to continue when we're going to be out of position. Blockers with ace king, it's not going to be as applicable, and other players involved. If we feel that the villain is going to be squeezing us, then we're going to proceed with a looser range. So let's bring up Hold'em Manager, and I will discuss which filters we're going to use if you want to run the same filters and follow along at home. All right, so the position is going to be, I want to look at early and middle position. And the VPIP is going to be true, yes. For whole cards, let's select none, and then pick ace, king, and queens. And then we're going to do advanced filters. Pre-flop, we're going to do faced pre-flop 3-bet as true. So now that you have those filters selected, hit OK, and we're going to take a look at the first batch of hands. Well, before I do that, let me just talk a little bit about ace, king, and queens. For the most part, lean towards calling. I worked out some mathematics and realized that I was playing too loosely pre-flop with ace, king, and queens. 4-bet and calling situations where the villain is playing very loosely, 40+% VPIP, and very aggressively. And I mostly judge aggressiveness based on their 3-bet percentage. Play more, be willing to 4-bet call when you're playing a short stacker that seems like a recreational player, but more like on a, monkey mode. So again, like a high VPIP. If you're playing a professional short stacker, make sure there are at least a couple players caught in between. If you open from early position and you get just 3-bet by a professional short stacker, for the most part, ace, king, and queens don't do that well, especially if they're like in middle position. So without further ado, let's take a look at some hands. Here's hand number 1. We have ace, king offsuit, and we're going to open from early position. We'll get this min 3-bet from a player that we've got very few hands on. He's playing 37-21 over 20 hands, which doesn't tell us a lot, but his min 3-bet tells us that he is a more inexperienced player. So we have, we're quite deep with him. We're over 200 big blinds deep, and we have position. I think 4-betting here would be pretty spewy, given the fact that we have position and given how deep we are. So I think calling is the only reasonable option. So we end up calling, and we flop great. We flop top pair, top kicker, and he checks. When he checks here on this kind of a board texture, we have to assume that we have the best hand, so we're going to bet for value and try to get a couple streets of value from kings, weaker ace if he has one, queens, whatever he might have. So you don't have to bet big here. So I bet 350 and a 550. I think that's plenty. So he ends up check calling. The turn is a 5. It's a blank. He checks again. We're going to bet again. And Again, putting him on a hand like a queens or kings. So I don't want to bet a lot here. I just want to milk him for value. So I bet less than half pot, just trying to get a crying call, and I'll probably bet like a third pot or like half pot on the river. But he ends up folding. So I think pre-flop it's a very easy call, and on the flop and on the turn, we're just going to try to milk him for as much value as we can.